Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. Oh, yes. Dracula is a vampire.
He is. You're right.
All I could think of for the trailers of this movie where they play the slowed down version of Bullet with butterfly wings simply because it contains the word vampire.
That's it. It's not about that.
It has nothing to do with nothing to do with an actual Nosferatu.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Woo!
Woo! Is
Dracula! Yes.
Is it the Last Voyage?
It's the Last Voyage of the Demeter.
That's too many thes.
It's a lot of those.
Fucked it up.
I mean, Planet of the Apes, The Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, that's also a problem.
It's
all
two
problems.
of those, even in Planet of the Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
You guys are fucking up.
Too many.
Do better.
Too many.
Do better.
Something ripped apart the animals.
All the livestock?
This looks like a bite.
Search the ship. Everywhere. Evil is on board. Powerful evil.
What's going on? Where are we? This is so this is the director. Did we have other options this week? I feel like we've been doing our own thing. We've been going rogue. We've been
getting real jazz with it.
Yeah, but we're sort of just like doing what we want. Like we were just talking about this before we started recording. Like Blue Beetle came out. We didn't like purposefully avoid it. I just completely forgot it came out. But also we were on break.
Yeah,
and it's like, what do you really want to hear us talk about Blue Beetle? He cuts a bus in half. I feel like I've seen that like 30 times.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's my review.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's fine.
Sure.
I don't know, man.
It's impossible to know.
We're not talking about that movie. We're talking about this one, which just came out on streaming, so people can watch it if they want to. It's from the director of, I believe, Troll Hunter, then also the Autopsy of Jane Doe. I really like the Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Me too.
I don't think. Yeah, I think it's not like it's top tier standard horror, if that makes sense. Where it's like the premise is really good, and then the scares are like very, very well done.
Yeah, it's just
I like Troll Hunter too.
Simple premise that's well executed. I haven't seen Troll Hunter. I need to.
Yeah, I feel like they've done something else that
scary stories to tell in the dark.
Right. Yeah. See, that was well done.
I was about to say the problem with the movie, as I recall from our We Just Watched episode, was not the direction.
Yeah. This fucker is super Norwegian, right? Like, he's got a line through the O in his name.
Andre Uverdahl, I believe.
If you look at the picture of him, you're like, that's a Norwegian man.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like, that's what they look like.
This movie is loaded with some Norwegian people. At least one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, nothing against him. He also did Mortal, which I never saw. This is all to say that, like, he's been sort of he's mostly done good things, right? Mm-hmm. For me personally, that is.
Oh, right, I forgot about Mortal. Anyway.
Yeah, what did you think of Last Voyage of the Demeter?
I liked this movie. I may have really liked it.
I'm right there with you, where I'm not sure if I just liked it or really liked it.
Right.
I think there's one glaring problem with it, but I don't think I think it's a completely unavoidable. It's more of like a cracked observation, if that makes sense, where it's like it didn't hurt. Like, it's one of those where it's like, yeah, but the movie wouldn't happen, so this is more fun. Mm-hmm. You know, it's one of those. Should I just start with that?
Yeah. Let me hear what you, because I have a tiny little thing that I didn't. I'm curious if it's the same thing.
Well, so this is based off a chapter of Dracula.
Yes.
And I haven't read that chapter, but I imagine it's it's a much shorter version. And the thing about the story of a boat, the Demeter, traveling with a vampire, is that as a chapter, you can sort of yada yada some stuff. One imagines, right? And you can sort of imagine like, yeah, that's a real problem for them. To extend it points out a glaring problem, I would argue, with probably the book, the chapter, which is like, depending on what happens, how did they not... how is this a problem for them? So they learn that there's a vampire. Well, they learn... all right, I know it's a problem. It's more about third act. They learn there's a vampire. And then they learn that sunlight kills it. And then they're like, spoilers, we're going to sink the boat. Let's wait until night to do that? And I was like, motherfucker, you know the rules now. Just do it, right? Like, do it during the day. Like, he's on a boat during the day. That feels like it's actually like... I'm not saying it's not hard to deal with Dracula, mind you, but they keep waiting for the night to do things, and I was like, what are you doing? Just he's allergic to sunlight. You know this. It's a Dracula issue, right? Which is like, normally when you're hunting Dracula, he hides and you can't get him during the night. And this one, they're like, he's down in the fucking cargo. We know this about him.
Yeah.
It's and that's what I mean. Is like in the book, I'm sure they yada yada it, where you can sort of say like, there's probably this circumstance, or maybe they didn't know that the sunlight. This like explicitly shows them learn it.
It never gets that specific.
Yeah, and so that's what I mean. Is like when you stretch out the story, you start kind of thinking like, oh, these people are kind of dumb for not like you start putting yourself in their shoes and going, what will I do? And the first thing I thought was like, well, fucking open up that cargo hold during the day and just start ripping open boxes, right? Like, or if you're going to sink your own ship, do it during the day. They specifically make that plan, and then they like wait for night. And I was like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, that's a little unclear. Just sink it during the day. His coffin's in the hold. You know where he is.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Where it's like, obviously the movie wouldn't happen if they did, but that's why it's like a cracked observation. Where it's like it's such an obvious thing to do. Mm-hmm. That we can have the movie.
I'm trying to recall if there was like some exchange that gave a reason for why they had to do it at night, and I can't really remember.
They literally like talk it out, and then it does like a cut to the evening, and it's like because they show them prepping during the day. They're like, we hammer down the thing, and they show them nailing it down during the day and like hoisting the guns to the bird's nest during the day, getting ready to face off with Dracula at night. And it's like, you don't have to do any of that. Just punch a hole in the thing and take the lifeboat, and then you're done.
Yeah, that's it.
You could argue like, oh, they're slightly they're too far from England, maybe, but it's like, it's Dracula. Get on the lifeboat, sink the boat, right?
Yeah,
like,
I'll roll the dice with whatever's in the water.
Yeah, so that's the one. That's silly.
Give me an oar, I'll take my chances.
Yeah, for the love of Christ.
Yeah, we'll just row the hell away from this guy.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You can all live, but you don't. Other than that, again, you don't have the movie without that.
I thought the very, very end sting was a little corny, where it's like Clemens is like, now I'm hunting Dracula. Like, I don't think we needed this.
That felt very like 2003.
Yeah, you could have ended it just a few moments before that, but it's a very minor gripe. That and the fact in the opening text is like in 1897, the Demeter washed up on shore. It was a derelict. The crew had vanished. Nobody knows what happened. It was a famous ghost ship. And then like a couple of seconds pass, and then another line appears beneath that says, based on the captain's ship log chapter from the novel Dracula. This is the opening title screen that you see. This is the first image you see is this text on screen. Why did that happen?
That's my first note was like, wait, so do you want me to think it's a true story or not? Because the first crawl is it's like, oh, this is a true thing. And then it says based off Dracula.
Right, but then weird.
Yep. The weirder part of that, because it starts with, okay, the ship showed up, it has no crew in this tight. It then cuts to a scene where they're like, this is the day, hey, the Demeter is washing up, there's a ghost crew in a log. And I'm like, so why did you put the text? Like, it's all explained like everything that's in the text is then just re-explained in this first scene. Mm-hmm. So it's like, this isn't like, this isn't Johnny Mnemonic where you have to explain like the world you're in.
I don't know. The fact that it specifically says based on this chapter in the novel Dracula, like in the narrative introductory like paragraph, like it's such
delete all those texts. The text
it's such a weird.
unnecessary.
It has to be just like somebody coming in and being like, oh, people might be confused and think this is a true story. We better tell them right beneath it that it's based on the novel Dracula. I'm like, do you do that? Did Jurassic Park do this?
I think this is like the most. This is like the dumbest producer note ever.
Yeah,
and I honestly think the end might be too, because the end kind of is like a sequel.
Right, the end feels like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yes, where it's like I will now hunt Dracula. I will say I'll watch that film.
Right, it quickly becomes Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter for 3 seconds at the very end, and it's fucking jarring. Because the rest of this movie is a dirge in like a good way. Yeah. It's like a relentless dragging towards doom. Like this movie does an excellent job at making you feel the creeping dread, and then just by the end, complete despair. Like it's so hopeless.
And then the ending where he's like, "My name is Clemens Helsing." I was waiting for that.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it's like I'm gonna track Dracula down. I'm like, I got bad news for you, Clemens. I don't remember you from the book Dracula, so I don't think you track him down.
I don't think you do much of anything.
I don't think you succeed.
So other than that, those two, those little notes again, like this is all very silly little nitpicks. It's like you said, it's a bunch of people who are just fucking so doomed. The director made some interesting choices that I want to go through, and then I would say that I don't know about you, but I knew that Clemens was the fucking only person who's going to make it. I just got that vibe from the start, right?
Well, it's
like this is going to have a huge body count, and it's like there's only like 8 of them to start, and it's like they're all dead.
It's clear he's the protagonist,
aliens.
But yeah, it's Alien. Yeah. It's Alien. Like
Alien, yeah.
It's a lot. It has a lot in common with the Autopsy of Jane Doe, and I wasn't even certain for Clemens to be sure, because
I thought it'd be neat if they killed off Clemens and it was a side character as the last, because I knew there was going to be a final person, right? It just feels that way because they show the opening and it's like, and then if they all die, then it's like, yeah, you showed me that in the opening, like someone has to make it out, but
yeah, I mean nobody does. In this part of the story of Dracula,
I know.
He kills everybody on board.
I know, but I knew that they had to.
And Anthony Hopkins turns into a little wolf man and eats everybody on the boat.
I know. Or the one, the Netflix one.
Yeah. Where they successfully do what they try to do in this, which is sink the boat and trap Dracula at the bottom of the fucking sea.
I like that series. I had to give that series credit where, spoilers, he shows up on the beach and it's modern day, and I was like, oh, hell yeah.
That was a hell of a reveal. That helicopter comes in.
Yeah, it was like, oh, okay, we're having fun now. Like, fuck it. Like, that's what they realized. They're like, people have already told this story. Let's just go nuts. Let's go fucking buck wild here.
Yeah. But it has a lot in common with Jane Doe. Like, it's about...
It does.
It's a kind of a locked room. It's not actually what locked room means, but it's basically a single location with characters that are trapped there, and the things are. Yeah. It's getting progressively more untenable. Like it's like as Dracula's getting more powerful. That was another subtle thing that I thought was cool, is that they're like, you can see that his powers are like, at first he's like this little weak thing crawling, and then he's standing, then he gets his wings, then he gets like the ability to conjure mist in the last encounter.
Yeah.
But I don't really call too much attention to it. But it reminds me of the escalating haunting in Jane Doe.
Absolutely, yeah. It reminds me of a few things. I assume they're taking from like
Alien,
you said, Alien.
For sure.
There were some interesting reviews, because this was like fairly divisive in the sense that it didn't get amazing reviews. Yeah, mixed reviews. And I saw some of the complaints, and I get why these complaints happen. I don't personally agree with them, that they just show the monster. And I think you go into this thinking like you're going to watch like kind of a supernatural, atmospheric, slow burny horror. And I don't think that would have been the right idea. It's just a monster movie, and I shouldn't say just, but that's what it is. Like, it's more of a monster movie than a supernatural movie.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's both. but it's not going for that kind of scares. So it's like literally the first time you see Dracula, the guy through the spyglass sees directly in his face, and they're just like, there he is, there's his face. And you're like, oh shit.
They don't linger on it though, which I thought was cool. Like he's still you do get a good look at Dracula, but it's like not. They don't linger on it, and like they use the idea of Dracula being this thing that clings to the shadows, so he's almost always obscured. You do see him, but he really commits to keeping Dracula mostly hidden.
Yeah, but you do see his face often. You hear him, and he's such a prick.
He's such a little asshole. He is in the story too. Dracula's a fucking dick. So,
yeah, he's a little wiener.
He's a little wiener.
Yeah, he's a villain after all.
He is, yes.
And so like he's like mocking them and shit, like while they're like begging. Like I just think this when you go into this movie realizing it has more DNA with a movie like Predator, because if you're a Predator, also like it hides Predator, but not for that long. And it's more about cat and mouse than it is.
I will say you do never see Dracula in the same capacity that you see Predator. Like they go fully mask off, literally, for Predator.
Oh yeah, but still with Dracula, you get an
you see him, you get an eyeful.
And
but it's not one of those things.
I think that's okay.
Well, it's like I do think it's okay, but I think he keeps an interesting thing where he does the opposite kind of what Spielberg does in Jaws, where it's like they withhold the shark, but once you see the shark, you see him all the time now.
Right.
He doesn't do this director doesn't do this in this movie. Like you see Dracula, but just because you see him, he doesn't like go, well, fuck it, you've seen him, so there's no reason to keep him hidden. It's like, no, you have to still keep him hidden because that's how he's scary.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So he still makes him lurk.
They still shoot him that way. Yeah. And he's always in the shadows or stuff. But they're not like they're not making him that mysterious.
No. I hope I'm being clear with that. It's like he still understands that you do need to keep this thing kind of lurking in the dark to keep him scary, because that is something that I think is lost a little bit with Jaws, but Jaws takes it in a different direction, because then it's about just the horror being out in the daylight. But because this is just such a creature of the night thing, I think it's interesting that he didn't take the same thing that a lot of these kinds of movies do, where once you see the creature, it's like, well, you see like an alien. Once you see the alien, you just kind of see him now.
Right.
So I think it's interesting that he just doesn't. He's like, well, just because you saw him doesn't mean like I'm just going to like trot him out in the daylight for everybody to see.
Well, especially not in the daylight.
Right? Yeah, not literally, but.
I do think they could have shrouded him a little more, but I don't.
A little bit more.
Like I was saying. So I didn't find this movie scary, but again, I don't think. I should reframe that.
I do want to talk about that. I didn't find it
like. Yeah, it's a different type of scary. It's gnarly. It's brutal. It's about like, again, a cat and mouse about what the fuck are we gonna do, but it's not like in the moment like creepy or like that. Like again, it's not that supernatural fear. It doesn't trigger the fears that something like the Babadook would. You know?
No, but it is really intense. Like it's so tense. And it's just this, like I called it a dirge. That's the first word that I used to describe this movie, because it may be too much for some of you guys, honestly, because it is so bleak.
Yeah, I mean, so the first character, so they all in the beginning. So Clemens gets on the ship because he's like an astrologer. He's a wicked smart, and they're like, we don't need wicked smart. We can tell you just want to get to England. But then like one of the deckhands gets like superstitious because it's them like delivering Dracula. Like, here, gotta fucking go.
Yep.
Like, I love that they give them money and they're like, they paid more than we paid them.
Yeah.
And that should be like the first sign where it's like, oh, I think they really don't want these boxes. Seems like there's a Dracula.
It's got a cool dragon on it though. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and the guy sees a dragon. He's like, this is cursed.
He's like, no, that's fucked. I know what that is. So you guys, good luck with your boat. Enjoy your extra money.
So Clemens comes on, and this is all to say they do the thing where they're like, here's all our characters. It's kind of the thing.
Yeah. It's
like, here's the cook.
The thing. Kept thinking about the thing, too.
Yeah, they're like, here's the cook. He's super religious. Here's the captain. He's going to retire soon. Here's the kid. here's the dog. The dog is doomed. And it's like, yeah, no shit.
They're all doomed.
They're all doomed. I loved when they introduced the kid. I was like, there's no way that kid's living. Like, I'm so happy there's a kid here because I know that kid's not going to live. I didn't know how brutal they were going to do it, and I'm so happy.
It's this movie it really does an excellent job of making you sort of experience what the crew is going. Like it's shot so well, and the way it's oppressive, and it's like a haunted house at sea, and then all of this just the most horrible blows to your soul keep happening, and it's like
the little kid is like, I am so innocent, and I have my whole life ahead of me, and the captain's like, I'm going to retire and bring the kid to the countryside after this, and the kid's like, oh, I disappointed the captain, and I was supposed to watch the animals.
Yeah.
And the kid is murdered twice.
Those animals are massacred too. It's just like it's I don't want to call the movie cruel, but it kind of is.
Yeah, but in a way that personally I cackled. I was delighted because it's cruel the way Evil Dead is cruel, where it's like, what's the worst fucking way this can all go down? And it gets so cruel that it's almost funny. Personally, I thought, where again, like I said, they kill the kid twice. What does that mean? It's like, all right, kill the kid, and you know what? Kill him again. The kid gets Dracula'd. He gets bitten in the neck, pronounced dead. And as they're about to put him out to sea, we haven't even talked about this idea, which I really like. It's the Dracula's thrall, right? But they do it in a really cool way where they're basically zombies. Their eyes go white and they're like rotting. And I guess that is how it's always been in Dracula.
Yeah, kind of ghouls.
But it's like a really good depiction of it.
Yeah.
And so like one of the people this happens to earlier helps Dracula hunt the kid in a very cool scene where he's just slamming his head against.
That scene is brutal.
It's so good. Also, it's efficient. Like if you had to open a door and you didn't care what happened to you, the head. It's the easiest. The skull is pretty tough.
Yeah,
you can get a door open.
Bash. It's like a hammer.
Yeah. And so like the kid is fucking terrified. He's locked in the room. They're trying to get in the room while Dracula's having at him. It's really fucking well done.
Yeah.
And then they give the kid blood transfusions because they've figured out that slows the process. They think for some people it cures, and it doesn't work, and the kid dies, and this poor fucking captain, because it's his grandson, I believe, has to face this fact, and they go to bury the kid, and the kid, the captain's like, I saw him move, he's still alive, and he uncovers the sheet, and the kid's a zombie, and he just lights up, and just fully on fire, screaming.
Burns
and then
Captain Grandpa.
Burns Captain Grandpa. They huck him into the ocean, and we see him his half-burnt corpse floating to the bottom. And I was just like, bravo fucking vo. Thank you, movie.
It's so bleak.
But
so
it's like,
bleak.
It reminded me of Interview with the Vampire, where they kill that kid too. Where it's like, listen, if you're going to do it, do it. You know, if you're going to bring a kid on, kill the it's weird to say because a lot of movies they'll bring a kid on and it creates a situation where I'm like, well, of course the kid's gonna live, and you've created this automatic plot armor, right, for one of the characters. Right. So I always appreciate when they do it and then they actually kill the kid,
right? Because you're taking that away from the audience.
Yes, and it's like, okay, well now I don't know what's gonna happen, and it's deeply upsetting, and they double kill the kid, which again I highly appreciate. That they killed the kid in such a cruel way that it's just like, my fucking God. I'm sure the kid thought that was great, like the actor.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't want to get to be a little zombie vampire kid?
It's awesome.
And get set on fire. Yeah. It's a roll of a lifetime.
It's a very upsetting death, and it's great.
It is. Man, I really like the direction of this, as we had mentioned. The use of shadows is so good because it never lets up. Because it's a fucking boat. Right. Of course it wouldn't. But he just manages to find ways to keep pacing these scenes, sweeping through the shadows and just... it's like you never get any air almost. There's a couple of scenes that are during the day, but mostly it's just this super claustrophobic just ship hold, or the deck, which is a nightmare. That's where Dracula is.
This movie is basically 2 hours long. It's a little under 2 hours.
It is, yeah.
And when I looked at that, I was like, oh, fuck. Are they going to spend like 40 minutes leading up to it? The answer is no. Things happen. They do gradually happen.
It is,
but at no point did I feel that length, to be honest.
No, there is still a bit of a slow burn aspect to it, but it's more of like the slow burn of like Jaws.
Yeah, but then it gets going really fucking fast. Yeah, because there's still murders going up leading into it, you know?
Right, and there's still things like the animals all getting slaughtered.
Yeah.
And that's like really an intense scene.
We're seeing Dracula before they do,
yes,
you know?
Yeah.
Like,
the dramatic irony.
Yeah.
We know Dracula's on board.
Right, we're screaming, guys, there's a Dracula.
You guys have a Dracula down there. Just throw that box in the ocean.
Yeah, for the love of God. They do this cool thing where they can knock throughout the ship and it resonates.
Such a good device. It's
a really good horror device because then Dracula can do it. And they keep hearing these knocks and thinking, like, who is that? Is that you? Is that you? That was really cool.
And then when the kid is frantically knocking later, and they just barely can hear it on the deck of the ship.
Yeah,
they do it. They bring it back at the very end when he's in the bar and Dracula starts tapping his cane.
Yep.
So it's just a great device for a horror movie.
With the kid scene is really like where this is like that's top fucking. The scene where he's looking under, because they do a couple things. So like the kid runs, so the guy gets bit and becomes a zombie. The kid runs into him in the hallway and thinks he's okay, and then that's when he turns around and you see his eyes, and he goes after the kid. He grabs the kid because he's like, that's a snack for Dracula.
Starts and the dragging kid gets out, him back towards the hold.
Yeah, the kid gets out of his shirt, his jacket, runs, gets into the captain's quarters, uses this lock that they've set up, which was, they didn't have to set that up, but it was nice. This big latch, and they set up that he has trouble closing it. And so you're like, fuck, get that shit closed. He closes it. Then this motherfucker's outside banging it open, and the kid's in there. That's when he's banging the thing. And so like, okay, this is cool. You know, like you feel like, okay, he's going to get away because that's when they just hear them. And so they come running to the rescue. So you kind of figure like, okay, he's going to have that near scare and then they're going to rescue him, right?
Yep.
And they grab the zombie guy outside and they're grappling with him. And then in the room, the kid looks over and sees something. And you're like, oh, shit, that's Dracula.
It sure
and
is.
And they do a great table shot.
That is real good. That's real good.
It's very like raptors in Jurassic Park in a way. They're like slowly revealing where he lifts his head up from the table. And as he does it, it's a POV shot. Dracula's gone. And then he's just like creeping around. And the kid, and they're trying to get in, and they know the kid's still in danger. And then they do the POV shot of like Dracula climbing over the kid and looking down. And then he picks up the kid and bites him. And you just watch the kid have the fucking life drained out of him. And you're like, oh, they were too late. And there's so many good elements there, which is one, giving you that fake out where you think, oh, it's the zombie guy. That's the threat, right?
Yeah.
2, having him almost get away several times. 3, having the adults show up that you think like, oh, he's safe now because the adults are here.
Yeah.
And they instead they have to just listen to this kid die.
It's get eaten by Dracula.
Very good scene.
It is. It rules. It's probably the best scene of the movie.
Yeah. I want to go back to why I think this got mixed reviews, because I mean, it's kind of, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I can see why it's a flaw, is what you're saying, which is like, you know, it's darkly lit, for example. They're always keeping it this scary thing. The thing is that it is really like a cat and mouse, right? It's like Predator. It's like Alien.
Alien, yeah.
I really do think it's a problem that they yada yada the days, because that changes a lot. Like, because for the reason you're saying, it's like it needs to be dark all the time. So they keep sort of like being like, day happened, and now it's night again. And I kept thinking, like, you need to do more during the day. Like, these people need to, like, they needed to figure that out, I think, a little bit. Because I do think, like, by doing it, by making it more of a cat and mouse, all I could think about is how do you dispatch Dracula? Like that was the thing always on my mind, which was like, how do you get away from this? And the problem is like the lifeboat idea is so obvious, and when they finally realize it, they still like wait to do it. And that to me, like I know they have one person go out the lifeboat, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
That they like sort of handle it, but it's like just go during the day.
Well, here's the thing. They don't learn about the sunlight thing until like the last day.
I guess.
No, they don't. Nobody in this universe knows what a vampire is. And the guy doesn't burn to death tied to the mast until the last day. And as soon as they see that, that's when they hatch their plan.
But then they have that whole day to...
It's true.
They could just go downstairs and say... Because all they're going to do is puncture the...
Yeah,
wall.
But it goes back to the same point you had here. I'm just pointing out why earlier in the film they're not taking advantage of the day more, because they have no idea that's what they need to do.
For sure, yeah. But they should know, like, it only seems to be killing them at night, right? Like, that is the pattern. And they keep doing the thing where they're like the captain's like, I want 2 men to a watch. And then, like, the next scene is one guy alone. And I was like, well, come on, guys. Like, there's little things like that where it's like they still have to...
It's still 2 guys. They're just on opposite ends of the ship. So it's like, well, then what's the point?
And that's the thing. You could argue the same about movies like Alien, right? Where it's like, they know there's a thing, and then they all are like, let's split up. But this one, you like feel it a little more, I thought, because of that daylight, and because they know early on, like, this thing is only attacking during the night. They can put that together. You know, they might not know it's allergic to the, but they must know that it's like whatever it's happening at night. We need to start like sleeping during the day, or like being really vigilant at night. And it feels like they try that way too late, you know? Like having guys in the crow's nest feels like it should have been something that happened almost immediately.
Yeah.
It's just they're a little slow to handle Dracula, because otherwise the movie wouldn't be fun. But I think you can like really feel that in this one more than others. And if you're not on the same wavelength as the movie, I think that could be a problem for you, you know? And I assume people were upset by the child dying.
The dog.
Yeah, the dog died. I mean, that dog was doomed from the start. This is all to say that, like, I'm just trying to understand the reviews. Personally, none of this shit bothered me that much, and I really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care to speculate on why other people didn't enjoy it.
No, I'm just
curious about what I don't know. It is, like I said, it's bleak. It's bleak to the point of cruelty. It's a movie that deals. Its tension is primarily dread and just the absolute hopelessness.
It's funny. I really didn't feel the bleakness as much as you. You're right. You're not wrong. That it's extremely bleak, obviously. But I think it's because it's a horror movie, like any other thing, like a slasher movie, where I was just like, yeah, of course these fuckers are going to die.
Yeah, of course. You know they're doomed from the beginning because you know what it's from Dracula. But like, I think what really nailed the tone, helped me experience that more than anything, is because I think the script is genuinely pretty good and the performances are good.
I really like the dialogue.
The dialogue is really good.
Yeah, they do certain things with it, like the main character, his arc is basically he wants to understand the world. And I liked that because it was like such a weird abstract idea.
But the story he told made sense to that, though. Like it seemed, because he tells a story about look, I'm the first black person to graduate with a medical degree from Cambridge, and I have been trying to become a doctor, and I just can't. Like I came to Romania because I got an appointment for King Carol because they had heard all about my academic success and what a great physician I am. They just didn't hear what color my skin was, so I showed up there and I don't have a job anymore. So it's like you sort of get why he has this kind of more abstract goal of understanding the world. He's like, I want the world to make sense. Yeah.
They definitely, like, it's weird to say, they're not racist enough in this movie, but they do address that. aspect. They got the one guy who's racist. I was like, you're all racist.
I don't think.
Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't need the movie to really do that. The movie does it as much as it needs to, sort of. It doesn't like pretend there isn't racism.
No.
But yeah, I really like that arc, and I like, again, it's all like they focused on characters way more than they needed to, which I really appreciate.
Right. So you
like the captain, they just ruin. Like it's that idea of like, okay, he's life on this boat is all he known. And
he has this incredible responsibility to his grandson. Is that he owes his daughter, so you can only assume that his daughter has passed, because why else would this young boy be living with him on a ship? It's not a place for a 10-year-old boy generally.
Yeah. And then by the end, he's like, I'm going to go down with this ship. And he's like, you don't have to. And he's like, where the fuck else would I go?
Where else would I go?
Like, yeah. He's like, my life is over, man. Like, it's just they take everything away from him slowly.
Yeah.
And then Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man, I was about to say, you said it's more than they needed to, which to a degree, but I think it's the same that they gave you enough of the character portrayals in The Thing, because in a situation like this, and in Alien too, in a situation like this, you need to sort of understand who the characters are, because it's all about the decisions they're going to make later. Like Night of the Living Dead too falls in this category.
I should know more than they need to is more like more than they had to deliver a movie.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, I know what
I
know what you meant. I'm just going off of that thought to be like, well, because these characters are so clearly drawn, like Polka Dot Man specifically, we get why he's suspicious of the new guy. We get why he balks at the idea of scuttling the Demeter at first. Like we understand.
How did he die?
He gets bit. He falls off the crow's nest and breaks his leg, and he hacks the hole in the hull. But Dracula gets him pretty much right as he does it. Yeah.
Yeah. I really like his arc because it's so simple, which is that like he's like, I'm going to be the captain of the ship next. And I want to protect this ship. It's a very superficial arc, but at the end, he's just like, this ship is all I know. I don't want to sink it. And when they finally realize he has to give up the thing he loves. And he's just like, all right, fuck it.
Yeah, but let me do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
By the way, I just realized who that child is. That child's been having a bad time in movies lately. We just watched another movie with that kid.
Is he the kid from Cobweb?
He is. He's the kid from Cobweb.
Shit, he's not having a great time lately.
No, that kid's having a terrible fucking time.
I knew I recognized him.
Yeah. Good for him. I'm loving this horror kid.
Oh.
But yeah, I that's all to say. I actually think they give them more arcs in this than The Thing, to be honest.
They're more defined for sure. They're pretty general in The Thing.
Yeah, and they all have, a lot of them have pretty good arcs, even if the arcs are terrifying. Like the cook, who again, he's just like, hey, I'm religious guy, and then at the end, it's just he's
and you
fucking
like him at
murdered.
first, like he's likable, and then he goes super Christian and not a good way.
Yep. We haven't even talked about the lady, which again, this is another thing where it's like they tone down a little bit of the racism. They also like. They're crummy to the woman, but they're like, they could have been worse. And I'm glad they do the in between where they're like recognize it, where it's like they don't like this woman.
No.
But they have a lot of them say like, I have a daughter. They make them all older and kind of like a little more like she's like my daughter, and so like we want to protect her. But she has an arc where she's like she was being like offered by her village to Dracula to like
she was a tribute to Dracula, basically.
Yeah, she's basically been groomed for Dracula, and then at the end they keep trying to save her with the blood transfusions, but at the end she can't. It's not working, and Clemens is like, one more blood transfusion, whatever, and it's them both. They're the last ones, and she's like, no, I haven't gotten to make a choice my entire life. Everything has been, people forcing me into things.
Yeah.
I choose this. And it's it's probably a weaker arc, but it's at least they still were like, let's give her something.
Yeah, they gave her. She doesn't come into the story until pretty late too. And when we first meet her, she's like passed out. So it's like they get what they can, and it's pretty more than you would have expected.
They're doing and they're very much doing a Predator, which is like a bunch of tough guys and then one woman who shows up in the mix, and they're like, this broad, and they do the thing where she holds her own. Like I like when he's like, I'm bad with guns or I hate guns, and she picks up a gun and she obviously doesn't hate guns. Right. She's very good at.
Grew up in an Eastern European village in the 19th century. She can use a fucking rifle.
She's killed a horse or two.
Probably bigger things than that, but at least.
She's killed a suitor or two as well. So she's doing good. Like they did. I don't know. They make you like most of the characters. And they don't. Like they kill the racist guy first. I was like, you're not gonna like make everybody bad before killing them, are you?
No.
But then they just start killing everybody, and I was like, all right, that's good. Which almost feels like a fake out. Like killing the racist guy first, you think like, oh, does this movie not have the clause that it's like gonna only kill bad people or whatever?
Nope.
And then it's like, no, we're gonna murder a kid.
Yeah,
it's
that
like, was cool.
That was
cool,
another surprise to me. Yeah, I was sort of expecting that, but they do. The crew was a lot smaller. Like I figured it was going to be a lot of anonymous people, and it is still pretty much. There's like only a crew of like 12, and we really only know like 4 or 5 of them, and really it's more like 4. But it's not just like a bunch of dudes that you like don't like. They do enough to make you like. They all seem pretty likable except for the racist guy. And they didn't have to do that. Like I was fully expecting them to just make them just cartoonishly slimy sailors. You know what I mean? Just like, just kind of the worst people. Like pirates. Right. I was expecting them to be pirates.
I was expecting them to be really disposable.
Yes, extremely disposable.
I thought they were going to go the other way to a point where I was going to be like annoyed.
Right, yeah, they're almost stormtroopers. It's
like,
well, I don't care if these guys are getting eaten. I don't care about them.
Right. I like that they made them older, more like everybody's tired. They've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
They want this bonus. They did a good job with the bonus, gave them a reason not to stop at any ports when the little things were happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time
it's
they're
untenable,
out to sea, when they're like, we need to get to a port, the only port is London anyway. The closest port
is where we're going, so...
Yeah. That was cool. I just read Stephen King really liked this movie, and good for him. This feels like something he would like.
Yeah.
And the director did describe it as Alien on a ship. So,
it's pretty much there. The shot where the dog gets killed is a shot from Alien.
Yeah. We talked about this as like, where would you sit a Predator film? And one of the things we talked about was on a boat this.
Yep.
And that now that I've watched this movie, I was like, oh, okay, I don't need that anymore. Because this is the better idea, which is like, I could see someone having that same idea. What if we did Alien or Predator on the ship? And then thinking for a second and then going, wait, isn't there a chapter in Dracula? And then realizing like, oh, that's what you do. You just do that.
Yeah.
And that's perfect. It's the perfect version of that idea, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I didn't love this movie, but I think this is a movie that I'm like always going to really come back to and enjoy. And ultimately, I'm gonna be really into this movie. If that makes sense.
Like I said, I was teetering between liked and really liked. I think I'm settling on really liked. This is a pretty good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's brutal.
And this might be a movie because people have made this prediction, and it's hard to see now. But I could see this being a movie like The Thing, where a decade or two later, people are like, "This is a cult classic."
Pretty sick movie,
because The Thing certainly wasn't appreciated in its time.
No, people hated it
came
for
out.
a lot of the same things that I'm saying. Bleak, cruel.
Right. Exactly, which is hilarious to think about, people hating The Thing. But like, it's exactly when I watch The Thing, I don't know, it's one of those movies that I feel like I've never not known the plot of. So like, when they die, I'm just like, yeah! Like, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun
and
now.
That's kind of and that's honestly kind of how I watched this, where I was like, yeah, get him, Dracula. Get that kid.
I was real...
Where I'm like...
I was real plugged into the... I had cast aside my nihilism for this viewing. I was really plugged into the narrative. But yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was all... because I just assumed that's what it was going to be, so I was ready for it.
No, I was expecting something like Autopsy of Jane Doe, which is what this is. Like, when the things... Like, not to spoil that film, but like they make you care about the main characters so that when stuff starts happening, you're like, oh God, like it's terrible. Yeah. It's horrible and it's very scary. And I was hoping, And that's kind of what he tried to do with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, even though that's a very bad script.
Yeah.
So I just was figuring it was going to be more like I figured it wouldn't be a body count type movie.
Right.
And it wasn't. It's not. That's not what it is.
Another interesting thing I just realized about this movie, and I'm sure there's an in between here. I'm sure there's more than I think, but CGI. It's Dracula CGI.
It is, yeah.
There is someone who played Dracula. In fact, he's the person who played the Crooked Man.
Yeah. That's super tall dude. If you see an incredibly... your creatures are either going to be Javier Botet or Doug Jones, and if it's a really tall one, it's Javier Botet.
Yeah, exactly. Is he the guy in Wreck?
I believe so, yeah. He's also the Crooked Man in The Conjuring. I'm pretty sure he is the guy at the end of Wreck, which is funny because the one at the end of Quarantine, I believe, is Doug Jones. The American remake. Yeah,
he is. That's all to say that, like, it's interesting because I do think a lot of the time CGI will ruin certain things, like movies like Mama, or like, like the mid 2000s when they like really fucked it up when the monster would be CGI. But I'm sure this isn't the only film. I can't think of any at the moment where CGI works. I thought the remake, I didn't love those movies, but I think the CGI in that a lot of the times, specifically morphing Pennywise, some of the other CGI I thought was a problem. But like, you can use CGI to do it. And this one, it looks really good. Mm-hmm. Like it's very crisp, the whole movie, it looks like there's a lot of CGI making this movie, just in the background stuff. Like, they certainly weren't out at sea, No. There's some shots of the boat that were like a little where I was like, that's a CGI boat. But there was clearly enough of a set, and there was probably some costume stuff. And this is all to say that it's rare that CGI doesn't bother me, and this one I was like, this looks good.
In the monster specifically, you mean?
Yeah, and the monster specifically.
Yeah, no, it looks fine, and there's still a decent.
And there might be.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, there might be more practical effects than I'm realizing too.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a decent amount of them. Like, all of the wounds in this film are gnarly as fuck, and they're all practical.
I think that's why I think they did it the way like the 90s would do it, right? Where they go, okay, full body monster has to be CGI. Everything else can be practical.
Right. We only use it for it's whatever the shot needs.
Right. And that creates a situation where like we can really make the effects good in these like handful of shots.
That's what it's supposed to be. Like, that's how you're supposed to use it. It's whatever that's best for the scene.
Yeah. So I do think,
or the shot, rather.
Yeah. So I can see this movie, like, it doesn't have that much to offer in terms of creature effects.
No, it's not a creature film in that way.
Yeah.
It's not like The Fly. You wouldn't appreciate it in the same way as The Fly.
Yeah, exactly. But it still looks good.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised. I was a little worried because like I was worried about Dracula being an all digital character. Honestly, I don't know why, because Gollum is fine. So like...
Well, so honestly, I still am kind of worried for this film in terms of its cult status.
That's
it's
true.
Weird to say.
That's true.
But like a movie like The Thing or Alien, there's a whole other tier of fans that's just about the fact that that's a practical thing. And I get it. I'm one of those people.
I was about to say, I dare say, I might be willing to bet money that The Thing might have more fans on that end of it, like the technical side of it.
And that's a big part of why I'm a fan.
It's a huge movie for effects people, yeah.
And that's it's weird to say, but a lot of horror, it's like watching a magician.
Yes, yeah.
Where it's like, if a magician is like, oh, I did it, it's camera effects or it's CGI, then you'd be like, well, you're a bad magician. Like, horror, for some reason, and I don't know what the reason is, but I agree with the reason. Is that we like it when it's in camera with horror specifically. I personally, I think action should be in camera too, because what's the point otherwise?
They're both. It's a visceral impact they're both looking for, right? They want us to experience
I think it's because horror, like, they both create two different things. Action, you love the idea they really did it. I can't wait to see how they did it, right? Where it's like, oh my God, Tom Cruise actually did that. Oh my God, they really jumped. It's a real stunt. We want to know we're watching a real stunt, right?
Right. It's more thrilling. Like, you connect to it more when it's a real person in a real environment. Like,
Sure.
you want to do it safely, of course, but there's just no replicating that with digital effects. And
it's so much cooler.
We spent many, many years kind of learning that lesson.
If you watched Mad Max Fury Road, if those pole vaulters were CGI, I'd be like, cool idea. Oh, that's a cool idea. Maybe you should have gotten real people to do it, and then I'd actually be impressed. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you pulled like the most extreme, because with that, it's like, oh, this pole vaulters are CGI. Yeah, that's right. It would have been cool if you could have made them practical, but that would be insane and dangerous, right?
Right. But that's what I mean, though, where it's like, if I saw CGI people pole vaulting, I'd be kind of like, so what?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like,
it's just,
yeah.
It's funny that you picked an example of where not only did he do it, it's not only that it's like, oh, it would be more impressive if it was real, but like that stunt in particular is like particularly insane.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you thought of that in a movie and you couldn't do it practically, you don't put it in your movie, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
because then
fair.
It's like, who cares? Who cares?
Right. Yeah.
And so, like, action makes more sense why we like it to be practical, because we want to see real things blow up and real things crash and real people do stunts. Horror, it's just funnier because it's like we don't necessarily need it to be practical, but I think what it is that we don't get to see elaborate puppetry and gore and those types of effects otherwise. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, they actually made that creature. That's so fucking cool.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. But I do think in the same way that seeing a real person in a real physical space doing an actual impressive stunt that you're like, oh, and it's thrilling. I think when you see a quote unquote real wound, with a practical effect, it's more, it's more impactful. It's more of a visceral reaction when it's just CGI blood spray.
I was going to say a squib versus like a CGI cartoon. Blood.
Yeah, it's like you get that reaction from people,
and you can tell. You can really tell.
Yeah,
that's why it's funny. Like CGI backgrounds and stuff, like what Fincher often does. Mm-hmm. That seems to be fine.
I don't care about that. Well, we had matte paintings forever, and you kind of knew they weren't real, but it was like,
that's why we're so used to it.
Yeah,
we're not like, oh, if this isn't actually in New York in the 70s, then I'm done.
What, you want to build a time machine?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know how expensive it would be to shut down a city block and completely set dress it for 50 years ago?
But it's funny that weird line, which is like, and I wonder if that's going to hurt this movie a little bit, because I think they leaned on CGI. It's very good CGI,
but it still has, like I pointed out, it still has all the practical gore. There's plenty of that. So I still think there's enough of that in the film. But yeah, you're right.
I do think there's something to see a real, quote-unquote, T-Rex bearing down on a car, right?
Oh, yeah.
An actor, fucking Ripley, face-to-face with a real alien, and you're like, that fucker's right there in the room with her. You can see it. It's... Man, that shit is...
It's so funny how scary Alien it is, and it's never anything but a man in a suit.
Yeah, a man who
it's never CGI. It's just a fucking guy in a suit.
That man apparently was never heard from after that movie.
Did he vanish off the face of the earth? He
vanished. Yeah, he was from Africa. He was this skinny, quiet guy who I think just lucked into the role. Like they saw him at a bar or something, and then they fucking never saw him or heard from him again. Maybe there's since been updates there, but last time. So that's just a weird little alien fact.
Alien trivia.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, I don't know. I do think I wish there was a little more Dracula costume in this. I wish there was a little more because when you describe it as alien on a ship, I'm like, well, what did Alien have? But I also understand that, it's these times. And also when you're doing Dracula flying around and shit, what are you going to do? You're going to stop motion that, know?
Yeah. That might be that.
Elaborate puppet.
I would be pretty thrilled to watch a stop motion.
You'd have to lean into it. I would love to see a go motion film done, like Phil Tippett style go motion.
Yes. Yeah, like Dragon Slayer. Update on the alien actor. We do know more about him now. He turned down.
Oh, good.
He was offered the alien parts in the future installments, but he turned them all down. He moved back to Nigeria in 1980. He opened his own art gallery, and unfortunately, he passed away in 92 from sickle cell disease.
Okay.
So we do know what happened to this actor.
Kind of good for him.
He's just in and out, opened his own art gallery. Yeah.
Because there's shots of him on set as the alien, and he doesn't look happy. And I think what happened was they're like, put all this shit on you, and he was like, this sucks. And then they're like, you want to do it again? And he's like, no, I'm not going to be in movies. So that's what it sounds like.
It does say that he was really uncomfortable to be the center of attention on a film. It was his only movie. It's the only movie he ever did.
Wow.
And you're right. I didn't think about that, but he's a relative unknown who's never acted, and all of this attention is on this character that he's playing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the title character.
It'd be a little overwhelming. Plus, they have to glue this shit on him every day.
Right. Yeah, that's gotta suck. If you're not like outgoing person, you're like, I hate this. I want to leave.
Yeah, I don't like any of this.
Like, really?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back home and open an art gallery.
Yeah, fuck it. Good for him.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this movie. This is all to say. Like, I hope good things for this movie. I hope this director. I want him to see him do like not Jurassic Park, but like a Spielberg-esque type. Because I kind of want to see him do like tension without murdering children, like a little more PG-13, which is weird to say because he's killing it in the horror biz. But I guess that's what Scary Stories was. But all to say, I kind of like.
I mean, some children still die in that film. But they're teens, but still.
I don't want him to stop doing horror. But I do want to see like what he could do because he's very good at tension.
He could make a pretty great. This also kind of reminded me of a submarine movie.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you could make a good thriller, right? Yeah.
I don't know. I really enjoy this director, though.
Yeah, I really do too. This person is almost always hits. In fact, even when it's a miss, his directing is great.
Right, like even Scary Stories. Yeah. I did not like that film, but the direction in that movie is good.
Yeah. This is
the creature design in that movie is pretty good.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie is just kind of
the script is ass.
Yeah, it's an airy fart. Yeah. It's like barely
real dusty fart.
Yeah. But this movie, I honestly, I was trying to understand the criticism just because I kind of don't. Because I came out of this being like, this is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Way to murder a child, way to murder Game of Thrones' child there.
There's a lot of Game of Thrones, in his movies. Yeah. So we had Sir Davos in this one, and then in Autopsy of Jane Doe, Roose Bolton is the sheriff.
Oh, yeah. He loves them thrones.
I mean, Game of Thrones also, I think, had every actor in Britain at one point.
I was about to say, it's Harry like a Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, where they're like, we need calling all
every
Brits.
English actor is in this.
Yeah, we need you all. They all get a message. There's like a big chiming bell that goes off or whatever. The Queen appears in their tea and orders them.
And they know it's time. Oh, we have to go be villains in another American production.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got for this.
Yeah.
That's all to say. Watch it. Yeah, watch it with like other monster movies. This is a good Halloween's coming up.
Watch it being fully warned that both a child and a dog die, and it is maximum upsetting.
You don't see the dog die,
but you do see the dog's dead body.
Yeah, you see the child die twice.
You sure do.
Child dies twice.
Yeah. Dog off screen, child twice.
Yeah, he dies once for the dog and once for the child.
Yeah. And then almost a third time because we see him sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, what if a shark eats him? Vampire shark?
They should have had a shark eat him. That would have been so funny. That would have been so... If he, came alive again and then the shark bit him in half.
Yeah.
I want
Vampire
that so
shark.
Bad. Oh, man.
Dracula shark. You guys fucked up now.
Yeah. Oh... Dracula shark. That should be the sequel.
Put a cape on it.
I mean, let's be honest. Dracula Shark is a movie.
It exists.
Right?
There's an Asylum film that is Dracula Shark or Vampire Shark.
Yeah, 100%.
Vampire Shark Weekend.
Yeah. Vampire Shark Weekend. Yep. Vampire Shark Handjob, our Mulder band. Oh, one of these guys, the zombie, was the voice of Colossus in Deadpool.
Okay, sure.
Sorry, I'm like looking up these guys because that's the other thing. This is he's also in Slaughterhouse. This is a fucking smorgasbord of that guys. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of that
where
guys
it's like,
in this film.
Yeah, where I'm looking them up and I'm like, he was in Picard. Oh, he was in this.
Lady is the woman from The Nightingale.
She sure is.
Yup.
Good for her. I want more for her.
Yeah.
That movie's fucked.
That movie is fucked. Yeah, but it's
That's
very
one of those
good.
movies. She did a great job, and she's like, and everybody's like, I was too busy like flinching to like enjoy your performance. You know, where it's like, when you do such a good performance in such a devastating film, it's probably hard to like, fucking make a name for yourself because everybody's like, I don't want to watch that shit.
Yeah, seems like a bad time.
Yeah, like I keep thinking about that movie, and I'm like, am I going to watch it again? Nah.
I don't know, man. I keep wanting to, but it's like, man, I don't.
Too.
It's so. Anyway,
I need to forget more of it.
Yeah, I still remember too much of it.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to look up the Corey Clemens.
He's on
another one.
Oh shoot! Well, he plays Dr.
He
Dre
played
in Straight
Dr.
Outta Compton.
Dre.
But he was
That's
on
great.
Walking Dead. He's on Walking Dead.
Okay, yeah, I don't. He was in Black Klansman. He's also a that guy for me. He was in
I don't remember
Skull
him in
Island.
Black Klansman.
He's another
Island.
guy. He's been lurking in the background like Dracula for quite some time here. He was good.
Yeah,
good.
There's great performances in this cast, genuinely. And like I said, the script was very good. And this was a script that was a blacklist thing for a while. Like it was a big.
It makes
big
sense
hit on
because
the blacklist.
it's one of those where it's like very efficient. Where it's like, oh, what a good idea, perfect execution of a very good idea, and like we're in and we're out, you know.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff, folks. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. You go on there, you pay just $5 a month, you get access to all of our podcasts. That is Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys. For a little more, you can watch movies with us every Friday night. I'd put this movie on, to be honest. I would watch this movie on a Friday night.
I think so. The people might be upset about the dog.
Yeah, we'll tell them.
We'll tell them.
Yeah. What else? What else is going on?
I don't know. We
Tom?
got a nice little Discord community that you guys can be a part of. But we also have a store. Head over to GamefullyUnemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs. You can get on T-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters. So slap your low light vision vampire peepers onto that.
Yeah. He should have just beaten Dracula up in that last scene. It'd be so funny if he was like, Dracula! And just ran and just beat the crap out of him, and then that was that.
He tried, if you recall, he comes at him with an axe, and Dracula backhands him about halfway across the ship.
Oh, I mean in the bar.
Oh, in the bar, yeah. Just hits him with a chair. Like, because there's like 30 or 40 other people in the bar at that point. He's just been, guys, this motherfucker's Dracula! And hit him with a chair, and they all just start stomping on him. Push the piano over on top of him.
In the book, Dracula has a unibrow.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. They should give us the unibrow.
He's
give
like
the thing where
he's a real. It's not at all like the seductive portrayal. He's kind of like a rat-faced man.
All they have to do is put a rose petal on his coffin, and he's fucked. That's all it takes to trap Dracula. By the way, if you ever have Dracula in the book, it's that or running water.
Yeah,
so like a garden hose.
Running water.
Yeah, just set up a garden hose outside your house.
Or his earth, his dirt boxes. That's how you beat him in Horrified. You just smash all of his boxes. No,
it's
my
really
dirt.
Funny. He is very manageable, according to the book. It feels like
Dracula has a million weaknesses. Yeah, it's just that he's insanely powerful.
Yeah.
If you don't happen to have a steak on hand or a jar of his dirt to smash, as they don't on this boat, it doesn't go so well for them.
They do have a lot of dirt, but they don't know.
They don't know what to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Got to get fucking, I don't know. Gotta get,
just one last thought before we finish. I did love that because I was waiting for a vampire exposition dump, like a going to the library or Googling scene where they Google vampire. I was totally waiting for that because Clemens asks Anna, the woman, so what is this thing? How do we kill it? And she just kind of looks at him and she says, this thing has been like ruling my village for hundreds of years. Do you think I have any idea how to kill him? Like, if we knew how to kill him, we'd have done it.
Killed him. Yeah, we would have. So we would have fucking. Yeah.
She's like, I just love that they bring up what would normally be the grown worthy, but I guess usually necessary exposition library scene, and she's just like, I have no fucking idea how to kill him.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Well, try this. Maybe it'll work.
Yeah, I don't know. Fucking hit him. Yeah, I don't know. Stab him. We've tried. Yeah, we've keep sending people in to like try.
Yeah,
and he just keeps sending their bones out, being like, nope, wrong answer. Yep. Bullets don't work.
Not this time. All right, so
you know how
this
should have ended? Clemens should have been like, I'm gonna hunt him. My name is Clemens Blade, and then he puts on the sunglasses. Oh. Fuck it.
Hell
right?
Yeah,
and then a Marvel production, and you're like, what?
Nick Fury lurches out of the shadows. Wearing like a steampunk eye patch.
Oh, God.
He's all League of Extraordinary Gentlemen out. He's all LXG'd out, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Hell
this should have been an LXG movie.
Oh, man. You suckers who turned it off at the plugs are really missing out.
We got some gold here for you.